Yeah, sorry for the little emotion blurb there, but I was gonna read something that I thought would be interesting because it's been a while since I read something really fucking stupid. Well, it hasn't really been a while, but it's been long enough to the point where I feel like I need to torture myself a little bit more for everyone else's amusement. So here we go. Age is a impossibility. Excellent grammar, you stupid motherfucker. See, this is why people should not take someone seriously when the entire start of their thesis statement is a grammatical error. But let's get the ball rolling. How life is not a singularity, how you can truly be free, and how the conservative ideology is indeed illogical and anti-human. It's so stupid that it's actually giving me stutter tongue. This is how fantastic this bullshit is. I'll take a quick drink real quick. Make sure my throat's dry, not dry for this. A thesis. You misspelled feces. By Shin Aon. By Shithead Ann. Dedicated to Stephen Hawking. Oh look, he actually spelled his last name right for the first time, because every other time he spelled it was Hawkins, like Jim Hawkins from Treasure Planet, or Treasure Island, depending upon which iteration you've seen or read. Rest in peace. When you realize that Hawking was on Epstein's Island, and even though he wasn't a degenerate child predator, it was still really fucking weird. Some of the crazy nutty shit he had those little people do when it came down to the whiteboard. And those open-minded enough to open up a book that isn't isn't a Bible or some conservative hogwash. I don't get why you use the word hogwash, since you probably don't even know where that term came from, given the fact that you're a borderline illiterate. And read, instead of bullying someone to the brink of suicide, which is what conservatives do on a daily basis. Basis misspelled. Why is it that your spelling of basis or its usage fluctuate between what you're writing? And it isn't like you learn the proper spelling and then you stick to it. It's more like one time you get it spelled right, sometime you don't spell it right, then you don't, then you don't, do. And it's like that for the entirety of everything you've ever written. And yet for some reason you're trying to charge money for that crap and tell people that they should pay money for something that is openly you not knowing how to fucking spell, and then you're trying to lecture other people about their ability to comprehend and use the English language. I'm just pointing out that little hypocrisy and irony. Introduction. Secrets. Dreams. There have always been ghosts in the machine. Professor Lanning. You literally copied a fucking quote from the movie I, Robot. It's a good movie, but I don't know why that's relevant in this entire goddamn situation. Age never existed. Bullshit. It did not exist in the past, it does not exist in the present, and it will never exist in the future. Time exists only. Excellent grammar, you illiterate sped monkey. If it exists only, then why are age and time often used in exchange for one another in certain situations and contexts? Time, like everything else in the universe, is self-sustaining, meaning that it does not need any help from other sources to exist. Again, age is not a source. It's literally just a synonym for the word time. They are used in exchange for each other. So what is age? Censorship. No, it's not. Because you don't stay that old forever. Every year you get older, until you're dead. And some people are, however, unfortunate enough to die very young. Most likely due to accidents or complications medically. Age is the emotional barcode that is put on humanity when we start existing. You mean when you're born. And it's not a barcode. People don't scan your DNA and then decide you can't do something. It's more like, you're not old enough to do this because you have no life experience. You will not make a mature and informed decision. That is not the same thing as saying you can't do this just because of what your genes might be. By who, you might ask? By conservatives, the closed-minded. You're the most closed-minded person in the room because you say anyone that disagrees who's automatically wrong by default. Nobody has ever benefited from age. Not really, because if you've been alive long enough, your wisdom and experience will actually benefit you to have, because you'll be able to learn how to spot certain situations and behaviors that are best to avoid if you want to live a peaceful and productive life. Not like you know anything about being productive, because this is the shit you do with your free time. I mean, at least when I'm torturing myself like this, you could actually say I'm trying to rebuttal the shit you say and provide some level of entertainment or levity to it. as opposed to you, where you screech like a dipshit about everything. What do you think a midlife crisis is? Crisis misspelled. People running around saying, I'm 40 years old and I'm getting closer to kicking the bucket, or I'm 50 years old. Am I too old to run a marathon? Well, the reason people are concerned with their own mortality is because death is something most people don't want to experience. Death is not something that people like. Unless you're a funeral planner or a mortician, in which case you like it because it provides job security. The reason people are concerned about how old they are when they run marathons, for example, is because as you get older, your heart becomes less and less reliable. Some people are born with genetic predispositions that give them bad hearts. Other people, their body just naturally it degrades over time from constant use. Why do you think that people die of natural causes? It's because their body just can no longer maintain the resource cost of keeping them alive. The answer is simple. Nobody is old. Okay, so if you see a pair of people that have been alive since World War II, so they're somehow anatomically identical to someone that's just entering college, despite the fact that one of their bodies has seen a lot more wear and tear over the years. We exist how we want to exist. No, you don't. Because you don't think that you're 100 years old, and then all of a sudden your body changes to reflect that. That's not how that works. It's one thing if you do things socially or like hobby-wise, like leisure activities, because you feel slightly more youthful, but that does not mean you've physically changed to reflect how you feel internally. This is not the same thing as someone wanting to transition, where they may transition and they actually look how they feel. But when it comes down to your body naturally decaying and breaking down over all the time you've been alive, it cannot reverse that effect, because the body requires certain resources to function properly, and as you get older, your body is less capable of producing those resources. It's not anyone else's fault. You're stupid. You know nothing about biology or anatomy. Anyone can run a marathon if you work hard enough. Now, that is true. If you are healthy and you live a healthy lifestyle, training will be much easier for you and you may be more capable of doing it. But that does not mean everyone that wants to is going to automatically be capable of running a marathon. Some people are just naturally, biologically, and anatomically not suited for it because they don't have the stamina to do so. As a transgender person, a factory worker, a scientist, or even as the Prime Minister of Japan, we the people own and control our own destiny and livelihoods. Again, no one was saying otherwise. However, it's a shame how badly conservative, closed-minded individuals want to psychologically enslave mankind. It's not enslavement to simply say it's not okay for a 5-year-old to drink and go gambling. It's responsible. It's a responsible society. Because if this was not true, then they would not be so afraid and reluctant to change and update their mentality. You want everyone to just agree with you without challenging anything you say, because you know you can't defend your positions. When it comes to dying on the hill you want to stand on, you won't die on that hill. You'll make it someone else's fucking problem, and then antagonize until you're ready to essentially scream and run away because you realize you've been left with nothing. Because you've wasted all your time trying to make statements in the direction of the hill, but you will not die on it. Instead, they decide to change everyone else and punish those who refuse to respond as they want them to. You spelled what instead of want? Excellent grammar, dumbass. Dude, you literally could have just fixed this. You could have spell checked your grammar and everything, but you didn't. There are literally free apps on your phone like Grammarly you can use. I've brought it up once before, but it's a free app. I use it myself just to make sure what I'm writing comes off coherent to other people. And if I make a statement, I want them to understand what I'm getting at, instead of having to make 45 different obtuse reasonings to make it make sense to others. This book will give you, the reader, an open-minded, multiple-sided view on our existence and our purpose without once slipping into conservative propaganda and misinformation. It's not really multiple-sided if you openly say the opposing side is wrong by default. That's the problem. You're automatically saying the opposing side is wrong by default. But you're trying to say that people are wrong by default because they don't agree with you. And that's the long and short of your argument. Chapter 1. These conservatives are crazy. You're the craziest person in the room because you claim you're the president of a fictional country, and then when people question you why the fuck it is you can't point to anywhere, you say that they don't know where it is, therefore they don't know where it is. One thing that I've learned, you don't learn, is to never trust a conservative. Pejorative for anyone you don't like. That is a lesson that will stick with me for the rest of my life. What, for the next 15 years? They are long ass fucking. Seriously, why is it like 3/4 of the page just cuts off to another page? Corrupted, hateful, and heartless individuals, they should never be trusted. Well, why should anyone trust you, considering the fact that everything you do is you screeching like a retard at everyone? Conservative is the name and control is their game. You literally want everyone else to dislike and hate people you don't like. They will act like they love and care about you, but their job comes first. Sounds more like you got spurned by someone that you don't like and you made it a point to be a dick about it. Their job is conversion. Yeah, because when people disagree with you, it's the same thing as them trying to brainwash you. Fuck off. Look at how the conservatives treat LGBTQIA plus community. Just say plus. Because if you're gonna make it like a 30, if you're gonna make it 30 letters long at this point, then the plus has no meaning. Seriously, just say LGBT plus. That way you cover everything under the umbrella. You don't need to include everything and then include a plus, because it sounds like you're already including everything, and the plus is just for measure. They don't even recognize its existence. Can't even use no apostrophe, so it's not a possessive noun. A huge group of people cast aside, aka put in the closet. People disagreeing with you is not the same thing as belittling gay people. Fuck off and die. They have a huge problem with two boys who are in love, but they celebrate a boy and a girl who are married. At the same time, the boy/girl couple are cheating on each other, yet the gay people are still made to look like the enemy. Again, you're literally talking about Bible-thumping religious assholes and acting like that applies to the situation involving you, myself, or other people involved. They're not. You're a spastic babbling fuckhead who probably should be smashed across the head with a bat. This is the raw conservative mindset. No, it's literally just you moving goalposts so you can say everyone else is a homophobic Nazi because you're a retard that does not talk. A mindset which is so focused on enforcing their beliefs on others that they are blinded to the context and the details and the fact that they are highly illogical. In fact, they care more about the generalization of humanity rather than tending to the individual needs of the people, which in turn helps nobody. Motherfucker, you literally act like the most degenerate, horrible people in society should be treated with kid gloves because you've decided that they're not criminal. You lose any right to talk shit about anybody and make bullshit generalizations about others, and then say that them generalizing is somehow wrong when you do the exact same shit, only to a different level. You generalize people that you call conservative all the time, so why is it any different when you do it? Or is it okay because you're the one doing it? For example, when Stephen Trowbridge, a conservative YouTuber is all one word, fuckface, continues to state that human beings cannot understand what it means to be in a relationship. No, people say children don't understand what relationships are because they don't really have any proper understanding of a real relationship, because everything they say has been romanticized in Disney films, for example. Clearly, this is an act of the generalization of humanity. No, you're just a fucking retard who openly twists people's words because he's too fucking stupid to stick to what people are actually saying word for word. Here's the thing, if everyone's so wrong, then why don't you quote them word for word instead of changing people's statements so that it sounds stupid? Which is an insult against the human race and the evolution of the human intellect. Your existence is an insult to the human race, because for every human being that's born an intelligent and coherent human being, we have two of you. The human brain is highly intelligent, adaptable, and flexible. If it's so flexible, then why don't you change your mind? Not that being in a relationship is complex. It's not. It's quite simple to the open-minded. Okay, here's the thing. How is a relationship simple? Explain it. Relationships have so many nuances in how you handle every situation, how your partner or how your prospective partner handles things in every situation. When you look at your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband and wife, they have different feelings about things that you might have different feelings about as well. And it's because of those nuances that complexity emerges. It's not complex at face value, But when you look at all the intimacies that are involved in having a relationship, when it comes down to actually becoming part of someone else's life and that person becoming part of yours by extension, you realize that there are, in fact, a lot of different nuances to a relationship and how a relationship works. Not that you know that, you're a fucking dipshit, your brain is literally fucking broken. So everything you say is essentially boiled down to everyone is bullshit, everyone's full of shit, but I'm right because I say I'm right. Well, that doesn't mean anything, because when you're automatically discounting other people's opinions and other people's experiences, then that means you should not be listened to, because then you're just diminishing what other people have to say because you'd rather dumb it down to something simple. Just saying. But that conservatives make everything seem complex, a complexity that they can't seem to comprehend. No, it's just you're a retard and you move goalposts so you can be right. They have a serious habit of overthinking things and overcomplicating things. Here's the thing. When someone says that there are a lot of nuances in a particular situation, and someone else is overthinking, it says that you don't think enough, because you're not considering all the ins and outs of the situation at all. And it's not overcomplicated. You're just an idiot that doesn't understand shit. So the most basic of fundamental values slips through your mind because you're like a retard with a brain hemorrhage. Now, the conservatives would say that children cannot understand what it means to be in a relationship. Well, it's true, they don't. Which is absolutely not true. So that means that an individual can't understand how to be in a relationship. Yet they can clearly understand how critical race theory is and the destruction of America, and the Bible verse depicting homosexuals are all going to, quote, burn in hell. So what you're saying is that someone repeating the same stupid bullshit someone else has fed them since they were old enough to walk is somehow the same thing as possessing the capacity to think critically and question things and develop actual feelings towards other people on their own. Those are two very different things, because one of them is just simply them parroting back bullshit. The other one is them actually thinking to themselves and making those decisions of their own volition when they actually have the capacity and the agency to make those own choices for themselves. Any intelligent individual knows that all people are created equal. Not really. Everyone should be treated as though they're equal. That goes without saying that everyone should be treated with the same agency and respect. But that does not mean that everyone automatically has the same mental and physical ability as other people, especially when one of the people hasn't been alive hardly long enough to really even know where their fucking shoelaces are, and you're going to try to tell someone else that someone that's not that smart, who has no real life experience, is somehow fully equipped to make a relationship work when they don't. Like, marriages between adults have a 50% divorce rate. If for some reason you think relationships between a child and adult will somehow turn better, when the reality is if an adult can handle a relationship, a child most certainly wouldn't be able to handle it either, given all the give and take that's required emotionally and mentally. So if one person can be in a relationship, so can others. You're literally just denying the fact that there are people that are different on different levels of psychological and social maturity. Sadly, conservatives believe that people are segregated with numbers and titles, which have been created and forced against it by conservative individuals. No, you're just a dipshit. You don't know what you're talking about again. Instead, titles and numbers limit our mental capacity to control our own destiny, which would mean that we as human beings are forced to comply to conservative regulatory norms, even if we as people don't fall into those categories or stereotypical narrative. Said categories / stereotypical narratives were created and planned out by conservatives, which said regulations are also known as age. No. Because when someone doesn't understand shit about the world yet, they shouldn't be making long-term life decisions. Do you think that a 4-year-old should be able to go into a tattoo parlor and decide they want to get a tattoo on their face without knowing the fact that it's going to be extremely painful? Do you think a 12-year-old should just be allowed to go into an adult film store and just buy whatever the fuck they want from it, regardless of the fact that they have no idea how those items work and they can actually injure or kill themselves trying to play with them? Just say it. You don't give a shit about the consequences because the consequences are not your problem. So you can clearly see, unless you are closed-minded, that this is one of the many reasons that age never existed. No, you're literally just making declarative statements and then saying the declarative statements render themselves true without any supportive evidence except for your own word. Because we as human race are slaves to nobody and nothing. We don't have to conform to conservative standards or illogical notions. Everything you do is illogical. We are free, aka we have free will. Free will does not mean you're just allowed to do whatever they want you to, whoever you want it to do it to, regardless of how they feel about it in fact. So there is no room for age, which never existed to begin with, because age is a contradiction of free will. No, it's not. Because someone simply saying you shouldn't be doing this because you don't understand what you're doing yet, that's not the same thing as someone saying you can't do it ever. Seeing as how free will does exist, it is impossible for age to exist. Age, therefore, is a contradiction of free will. If free will exists, then age cannot. That's not how that fucking works. You're literally just making up shit to act like you're smart. You don't come off as intelligent, you come off as a dribbling spaz. Seeing how age clearly does not exist, that also means that the terminologies connected to, quote, age also cannot exist. No, you're just making declarative statements so you can feel good about being a child toucher. Nor do they have any relevant meaning to age. Children, adults, teenagers, babies, kids. Like 5 fucking paragraphs worth of emptiness before the next page. Preteens, the elderly, senior citizens, old people, young people, toddlers, tots, minors, etc. do not exist. The terminologies don't exist, neither human beings in question. Well, here's the thing. How do you define someone that has not been alive for very long if you don't have specific words used to apply to them? And if minors don't exist according to this retarded little fucking faggoty paper, then what do you call a map? If you can't use the word minor, what do you call them? You're contradicting your own fucking pages, apparently. So you may be asking, what are they then if they are not these things? I can tell you quite simply, they are human beings. Okay, well, what differentiates one human being from another besides their ethnic standing, for example? How do you describe that you're looking for a missing person if you can't describe their age group? You could literally be describing one person that may match the description of 50 others, and when you don't say, well, they're a little kid, or that they're a teenager, or that they're adult, if you can't use those words, then how the fuck do you help find a missing person? You can't. I mean, why would anyone want to spend the rest of their lives being labeled and typecast by random conservatives or anyone as being something they are not? Well, here's the thing. I myself am an adult. I know I'm an adult because I'm over the age of 18. And the reason that age is established is because they have a certain cutoff point where you are legally responsible for yourself. If anything, the vast majority of people don't care about this thing called age. If the vast majority of people don't care, then go into public right now and scream this retarded fucking bullshit and see how many people think you're fucking crazy. Now, conservatives will say age determines how long you've lived for it, but the fact is they are still wrong, as they always are. No, you! Time determines how long we have existed for, not age, which never existed. Age is a crutch that hampers on humanity's advancement and enlightenment. Stop speaking about enlightenment when you're the dimmest motherfucker in the room. You're about as bright as a 2-watt bulb. But the conservatives will say, you're 22 years old, therefore age exists. But like always, they are wrong. I'm not 22, quote, years old. I am a human being that can do anything I set my mind to. Not I can do anything the conservatives tell me to, or I can anything I set my mind to, unless it surpasses the age limit that I am trapped in. But you're not trapped in it, because every year you get older. You're only 22 for 1 year, you're 23 for 1 year, and then you keep going up and up and up until you're fucking dead. Or, I can't think for myself because I am too young or too old. No, someone can't think for themselves when they literally have no fucking life experience, and then everything they do becomes a matter of, well, I think this would be fun, but I don't really know what I'm doing. And then he gets killed because he gets ran the fuck over by another car because he thinks he's starting the car with a fucking carrot, like you probably would. And the people that have dementia, for example, who don't know where they're at, they probably shouldn't be left unattended because they don't know where they're at. Even time itself is not respected. So how can conservatives manage to connect a uncensored universal system like time with an authoritarian, highly hostile conservative system? You can't. You're supposed to use a question mark at the end of a question, you fucking retard. If anything, conservatives would have to find a way to control time, which they can't. They can't even get people to stop being gay. No one gives a fuck if you're gay or not. Piss off and die. And our existence in time, if anything, we would have to figure out a way to destroy free will, which is definitely illogical. Again, you don't understand the definition of logic because everything you do is more or less devoted to being a dumb cunt for attention. Nothing you do hinges upon logic because everything you do is done to be shitty. Chapter 2, the conservatives have struck again. Yeah, I'm sure they have. I'm sure you're so fucking traumatized. They struck again. Have you ever heard someone else say to you or someone else, you're too young to see that movie, or you're too young to play that video game? Well, that usually happens, question mark. Dipshit. They do it anyway, and everything is fine. Not necessarily. I mean, there are plenty of people who played incredibly violent video games that they didn't understand the context behind the violence, and it kind of fucked them up for a while. Even if it's a horror movie, everything is fine. You may get scared and be scared for a while, but it's a learning experience. You don't need to capitalize the letter A in the middle of a sentence, dipshit, and that person or yourself will get over it. Yeah, but this is not the same thing as you trying to encourage people to fuck adults. Meaning that there is no reason for censorship, which is exactly what conservatives love to promote. You promote censorship in regards to constantly saying that people that disagree with you are inherently wrong. A quote 12-year-old can't start a business, yet millions of people do it. Well, the difference is, usually when someone starts a business, it's because they've already went to business school. They have some understanding of starting a business, as opposed to a 12-year-old that has never attended business school, doesn't know how to actually run a business, so they're probably not going to survive with the business because they don't know how one runs. A quote 8-year-old can't be a drag queen, yet many people do. Yeah, these many people are not adult. These many people are not children, though, you fucking dipshit. Stop moving goalposts. Comparing a child to an adult doesn't work because the adult has a lot more mental capacity. They've been alive a lot longer. They know a lot more. They have a lot more extant knowledge because they've experienced things, as opposed to someone that doesn't know shit about anything. Why? Because age never existed. I hope you don't exist. I hope you walk in front of a moving car one day when you finally say this shit in front of the wrong person and they just decide to floor it on your ass. Also, because we have free will. Think about it. Anyone can get a job if they wanted to. Then why don't you? Anyone can be in a relationship and in love if they wanted to. Well, here's the thing. It's not really that you just want to love someone. It's either you do or you don't. It's a feeling that you have inside yourself. It's not really a feeling that you want to have. It's it's involuntary. When you love someone, it doesn't I must love. Like, you just feel it. Or you don't. You'll either feel a connection with someone and you'll feel that spark every time you talk to them, or you won't. That's not the same thing as trying to force yourself to love someone, because that's the only way for you to get through your day is just to pretend you're happy. I've been involved in relationships like that myself, and let me tell you something. When you, quote, want to be in love, what that means is you're forcing yourself to keep pushing into a relationship where you feel bitter and angry behind the person's back. Just saying. It's been going on for millions of years. Not really, because human beings didn't have jobs millions of years ago, because back then our primitive ancestors still lived in caves or in trees. Because a lot of our primitive ancestors were ape people, which didn't really have societies. They just kind of functioned the way chimpanzees do in Africa and parts of Tanzania now. Which is in Africa, just so the people that don't know geography in the back. Just saying. And a course. If you say a course one more time, I'm going to travel to Los Angeles and stomp you to death. Where there is love, there is always a conservative ready to tear it apart and destroy it. Man, destroy it. Your whole idea of destroying it means that someone's about to get abducted by a predator and the cop steps in. People go and see a movie all the time, so there's no such thing as you're too young to see that movie. Yeah, it is, because they have ratings for a reason. A child should not be going to see a movie where people are going to be violently eviscerated for several scenes. Because what's going to happen is it's going to fuck them up. They're not going to understand this is all fiction. Or at least the people that are small enough that don't know the difference will not see it as fiction. That's what you want to do. You want to give someone like a gore fetish when they're like 6, so they turn out all fucked up as an adult. Good idea. Just like there's no such thing as you're too old to work, which is why many people get sued for age discrimination. Well, here's the thing. Usually those people that get sued for age discrimination, it's because they try to prevent someone from working who's a member of wait staff, for example, and they try to turn down someone that's middle-aged for a wait staff when a lot of their waitresses might be young women in their 20s or early 30s. Which may appeal to the age demographic of the men that usually eat at things like Hooters, for example. That's not the same thing as someone turning away an elderly person for no reason. And some people are turned away because their advanced age suggests they might be a liability to hire because they might suffer from severe issues that may result in them having a heart attack or dying on the job, which a company doesn't want to get fucking sued for. Because the company doesn't want to have to pay more money for liability insurance in the case of someone like that working for them. In reality, the people can do what they want to. So I should be allowed to cave your skull in because people can do what they want to. Like they always have been doing. So what? You're supposed to use a question mark, dipshit. A person sees a naked person. So what? Why don't you just walk around town and say that to children and see what people think? Medical service has such a problem with the human body. It's not a problem with the human body. It's the fact that you shouldn't have someone walk around with their dick hanging out in front of children. A person watches porn. So what? Again, people's disagreement with pornography has nothing to do with adults watching it featuring other adults, and it has to do with the kind of shit that you'd promote, which would usually involve children. It's none of the conservatives' business anyway. It is when it straight up violates laws and could actually be used to help circulate people getting harassed for sex crimes. You have sex with someone, so what? It's none of the conservatives' business anyway. It is when that person's a child and you're an adult, or if you're doing it against someone else's will, or if someone's a member of your family who's mentally ill or dependent. The point is that the conservatives are the only problem here. They meddle in our affairs, censor our television and movies, control what video games we play, who we can't have a relationship with, who we can be friends with, etc. No. You're pissed off that people won't let you watch CP. You're frustrated with the fact that people won't let you have friendships with children because you're a creepy little fucking weirdo who obsesses over fucking children. And people will not allow you to be in a relationship with a child because you're a psychotic little fucking nut job to everyone. Shut up. It's not a matter of actually desiring people's freedoms. You desire your freedom, and everyone else can get fucked. You pretend this is really about other people's freedom and not wanting everyone else to dictate what you may say or do, but the reality is it's all a matter of what you want, what you get out of it, and what you could get out of it if you were to get people on your side. Piss off. Basically, the conservatives are the dictating force that are controlling humanity. I'm going to go so far as to say that conservatives are worse than communism. No, it isn't. Because conservatism may be a little bit like politically or socially conservative, for example. They may be a little bit against some of the shit you say in regards to pornography and shit. But them being slightly against it is not the same thing as China and communism, where they try to control your government to the point where you can't do shit without the government being up your ass about it. The conservatives always say that name a country that has succeeded with communism. Well, I can name one. China. China is the superpower of the world. It is a superpower. It is not the superpower, because there are other superpowers that also rival it. Yeah, in America, they don't even have the right to watch an R-rated movie without the conservatives prosecuting them. How? Is someone walking into the theater and arresting people because they don't have a valid ID that suggests they're an adult? No. They don't do that. They don't do that. You're literally just making shit up. How is America democracy when conservatives control or try to control every aspect of our lives? It's not conservatives, it's the fucking law. And if you don't like it, bitch to Congress. Because we all know how far you're going to get with that. Fucking retard. In all truth, China has more freedom than America does. Not really. Okay, here's the thing. In China, if you're Muslim or gay, You're thrown into an incarceration camp where you're re-educated or tortured until you convert and until you no longer feel attraction to other men or women, if you happen to be a lesbian. In America, you can be Muslim and gay, and nothing will really happen to you except maybe you'll run into an asshole that doesn't like you or doesn't agree with you. But you can walk away knowing the fact that the police will not be called on you, you will not be pulled out of your fucking home or tortured and beaten and held in a gulag just because you happen to be gay or Muslim. As opposed to China, where you will literally be punished for that alone, regardless of whether or not you've had a good standing as a law-abiding citizen up to that point. Because the Chinese are beautiful, smart, and kind people. Not every person in China is beautiful or smart, and not every person in China is kind. A country is like anything else. It has a lot of good people, a lot of assholes, and a lot of people that are kind of in between. You can't say an entire country is automatically infallible and can do no wrong, because every country has assholes in it. The only reason you don't see it that way is because you jerk off to the thought of being Asian. You're an Asiaphile. And there's nothing wrong with liking Asia in and of itself. But the problem is you don't actually have likes or interests. You basically just fetishize things until you want to become them. The Chinese government have helped many countries become successful, and have even pulled some countries out from poverty. You mean out of poverty. Cambodia is one of them. Oh, you mean that country with the sex tourism where children are being exploited by American doctors and other surgeons from all over the world? Yeah, great job. China is unifying Asia and the world. Not really, because a lot of China's policies are actually against its own citizens' freedoms. It's not as bad as North Korea per se, but it definitely has a lot of restrictions. What is America doing? Hiding China, invading the Middle East, harassing immigrants, starting trade wars, terrorizing the LGBTQIA+ community, etc. No wonder other countries laugh at America. I'm laughing right now. If you're laughing right now, then get the fuck out. Seriously, if you hate America so much, fucking leave. I will pack your bags for you. Granted, there may be stuff with some things that get you thrown in prison, but I'll pack your bags for you. I may or may not put some C4 in there for good measure, just to make sure that when I blow the plane, you're surely dead. Talk a lot of shit for someone with no other options. Just like anyone can be an actor. Not really. There are a lot of people that are bad actors who can't be an actor. Acres consider hate Hollywood, which is only one of the million of places that they hate. But yet they don't realize that Hollywood consists of more than just movie stars and production studios. Hollywood is a city, an unincorporated area of Los Angeles County. That being said, anyone can live in Hollywood. They can, but the problem is not everyone there lives in those luxurious mansions in the hills. Some of those people, like you, live in crack-infested alleyways or crack dens. And here's the thing, the reason that a lot of people don't like Hollywood is because the movie studios are often full of people that get essayed, and whenever they try to come out with what's been done to them, they're threatened with their livelihood and possibly their any future endeavors of having a career, because they'll get fucking blackballed if they try to tell anyone what happened to them. A lot of the times, this stuff goes unreported for years because people don't give a shit, even those that witnessed it, because they themselves are cowards and afraid of losing their job over stepping up and saying, yeah, this person's been essaying this person, I think we need to call the police. And 3, a lot of the people responsible did a lot of horrible, unspeakable shit behind the scenes. That's not counting all the people they abused. So it's no wonder people don't really like Hollywood. Because this is what people do. They live life. You don't live life. You go every day begging for attention. You don't have a life worth living. You have a life that people feel pity towards. If a person wants a beer, they will find a way to get beer. Yeah, but the difference is, usually when people get beer, it's because there's some sort of supervision that means they'll be monitored to some extent, especially if they're not responsible enough to know what they're doing. If they want to see porn, they will find a way to do so. Again, you're literally just moving goalposts so you can be right. If they want to get into politics, then they will find a way to do so. You're not qualified to be a politician, let's say that right now. No matter what labels are attached to their person, nothing will keep humanity from prosperity. It's not prosperity for getting alcohol or watching porn as a teenager or a kid. It's literally typical teenage boy bullshit mischief that people get into. Whatever. Interesting enough, conservatives don't care. They believe that we are all pawns in their sick delusion that they call conservatism. Again, conservatism is a political affiliation. It doesn't control every single one of your fucking life choices or ideals. Only a dipshit actually believes that. That we can be labeled and controlled like puppets. Then they toss us in the fire, ridicule, condemnation, etc. When we have a defect, for example, being gay. Here's the thing, no one that you've ever disagreed with has ever been someone being belittled for what someone perceives as a defect. You're literally just making bullshit excuses and saying the bullshit excuse you make is the same thing as someone else saying that you're wrong. It's not. People just criticize you for having stupid fucking opinions, and you classify that as bigotry or discrimination because you're a moron. This is going to be the end of part 1.